Hey everybody, Josh Holt with RE/MAX Coast to Coast here. I'm pleased to be sitting with Mike Pagan at Stinson Associates CPA, located right here in the heart of all the action in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Mike is going to talk with us today briefly on the tax consequences of living in Maine or New Hampshire, since we're right here on the border. Mike specializes in tax planning and preparation of closely held businesses and their owners, as well as individual returns of high-income wage earners. Mike, thanks for joining us today for this quick video blog.
You're welcome, Josh. Good to be back.
Hey, Mike, I ask most of my buyer clients what they would think of living in Maine since the prices are lower. The property taxes are much lower as well, and you usually get more bang for the buck. I get told all the time, I don't want to live in Maine, the taxes are too high. But it seems to me that isn't always the case. Could you delve into that a little bit?
Well, there are a number of variables that go into place when you're thinking about, what state you want to reside in, whether it's New Hampshire or whether it's Maine. As you well know, New Hampshire has no personal income tax, and Maine has a top rate of 8.5%. What we find is that, as a general rule, anywhere between probably $50,000 and $100,000 of income, you're likely to find a wash scenario. Anything above 100 and incomes way out in the stratosphere tend to favor New Hampshire, and lower incomes will usually tend to favor Maine.
Cool. Now, Mike, some of the people I work with are either self-employed or investors as their full-time job. Can you explain a little of some of the different state taxes that people might see operating in New Hampshire versus Maine or vice versa? I know there's a ton of them out there, but maybe you could highlight on a few.
Sure. Well, the primary business taxes with regards to New Hampshire consist of the business enterprise tax and the business profits tax. And to make a long story short, those taxes in New Hampshire are generally they're based off of your gross revenue. So BET kicks in at $150,000 gross revenue. BPT kicks in at $50,000 in revenue. A lot of times, depending on the revenue and net income of the company, you could end up paying more in state business taxes in New Hampshire than you would in income taxes in Maine. But again, with so many variables, it's hard to pinpoint an exact figure as to which state would be better.
Yeah. Now, you've already touched on this a little bit, but I kind of want to highlight this again, and it's kind of a loaded question because there's so many variables, but that income number, adjusted gross income, I guess, wise, where you balance out the tax between Maine savings on property taxes, New Hampshire higher property taxes, no income taxes, your average wage-earning couple with maybe 2 kids would be better off from a tax perspective in one state or another. Is there a certain number there?
Well, there's definitely a figure there. When you start thinking about income and dependents, mortgage interest, real estate tax deductions, those sorts of things, there are definitely income levels where living in Maine can be just as good or even better than living in New Hampshire. And I think once again, once you get into that range of $50,000 to $100,000 in income, you can definitely see advantages in living in Maine.
Great. Mike, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it very much. We went a little longer than I wanted to, but I think we were able to give some pretty good counsel here today. I appreciate that. Being as you are a great CPA on the board, you're my CPA, I trust you that much. If some of the viewers here have more questions, how can they get a hold of you the best way?
Well, we can be reached locally at 603-431-7714 or via email at mike@stinsoncpa.com.
Great. I'm Josh Holt with RE/MAX Coast to Coast. He's Mike Pagan with Stinson Associates CPAs. Have a great day.